Hi, this is the Social Gelo with Angelo show. My name's Angelo. I'm a social scientist, surfer, martial artist, and a whole lot of other things. Coming to you live from Kasai City, Japan, the Social Gelo with Angelo show. Hey, what's up everyone, and thanks for checking out Social Gelo with Angelo. This is a black belt meeting with me and Sifu John Hojlo in representing Kajukenbo Okayama. Real quick, before we start getting into everything, it's a little bit of a different format. I'm still going to keep this as part of our Kajukenbo series, so please subscribe. And that's the best way to support the show. For you listeners, go on YouTube and please subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let's get on with the show. You gotta represent. All right, so I'm here with John Hojlo. We're here for our black belt meeting. This is our second black belt meeting we've had. And this is part of his program, so we're doing a cross-program thing. Can you mention the name of your show real quick and where people can find it?
Yeah, the 4 Shots of Kajukenbo. It's going to be up on Kajukenbo Okayama. We're on YouTube, and we got our website as well. You can check that out.
So you heard it here. Check out his page, Facebook on Kajukenbo Okayama.
Okay, welcome back. This is episode 2 of 4 Shots of Kajukenbo. This is an experimental podcast. My name is John Hojlo. We're coming out of Okayama City in Okayama, Ken, Japan. I'm joined by my co-host today, Angelo Podcast, or as Angelo, as people like to call him. In case you don't know the format from our first show, this is 4 shots. We're going to talk shop and take shots. Feel free to join us with the shots, and hopefully you can learn something as well. So, hi. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah,
good.
It's hot. It's hot, but I'm good.
Yeah. That's the way I love it, man. Well, let's do our first shot. As you ready? You doing the rum today?
Yep, I got the rum. Got my unofficial sponsor.
Well, I didn't tell you this last time. I didn't eat anything during your show last time, so I made sure to do that today.
Good. That must have been rough.
Yeah. I didn't know we were drinking that day. Anyway, let's go.
Cheers.
First shot to get started the show. All right, man. So I want to talk a little bit about forms later on today, but to get into that, I want to ask you first about your training these days. I know you're teaching, but you also put up videos, you're training yourself. What kind of training are you focusing on these days?
Oh, all right. These days, I've actually split my training into going between what I've learned and the core Kajukenbo program that was taught to me by my instructor, Professor Ronnie Sagiri, and then doing what I personally like to do for my training for fitness, for like martial arts fitness. It's a niche that I kind of go into. So to give you an example of this, on Mondays I do wushu. And if a student calls me, I don't care who it is, beginner or advanced, they call me on a Monday morning and they're like, I want to go to the gym tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow's wushu.
Do you start the week with the Kung Fu first?
Well, yeah, I start the week. Hold on a second. I don't. Sunday. If we're starting with the first day of the week, it's Sunday. I start the week on a Sunday, and on Sundays, I started off with... That's an official class. So it's an official class on Sundays, and students come, and I do karate line basics, self-defense, and then we do our forms, whichever forms they need to work on as a warm-up.
This is all Sunday stuff. Okay.
It's all Sunday. This is our first day of the training day. So you asked me what I do in my training. That's my first day of my training day is Sunday.
Okay.
So the students come in. We do our stretches. We do our forms as a warm up, whatever form they're working on, and then after that we, because I train with them. I'm a big advocate of training with my students. I'm not just sitting there watching. The only time I do that is if I feel someone really needs the coaching, but if not, I'm training alongside with them.
That's what we gotta do, man.
Yeah.
We gotta stop the overweight, great grand with red belts that don't fit them anymore. We gotta gym. You're right, man. Okay, so you got the regular workouts at the beginning, and then you do the wushu on Monday.
Wushu on Monday, and then well, like to explain more of the training program. After we're done with the warm up, then we go into jujitsu. So after I'm done with the forms, the self-defense. In the self-defense, I teach a takedown. So we'll do our self-defense, grab art 1 or punch 1, and then I'll incorporate some MMA by teaching them a different takedown each time. So each time I'll teach them either a single leg, a double leg, underhook, whichever one it is that day, whatever, a new takedown. And then after that, we do a jiu-jitsu technique. So after that, that's about 30-minute warm-up, and then after that, we do 30 minutes of no-gi jiu-jitsu on Sundays. And we'll work on one or two techniques, then do a drill, and then do focus sparring. Then we have 30 minutes of open mat, which is now whatever I want to do, depending on who I'm there with. 30 minutes of sparring of any whatever they want to do, kickboxing, no-gi, or MMA. And then from there, after that, I do kettlebell workout. I'll do a 30-minute kettlebell workout after that. And that's Sunday.
Okay. So what's your focus of this workout? Are you training to get in the ring? You training to just stay fit? For you specifically at the moment?
I'm just training to stay fit. I mean, right now I can't go in the ring, right? This whole COVID thing, all the fights got canceled. And I've decided that I really like, even though originally I started this training program to get into the ring, I really love this training. And I don't ever want to stop unless I'm not healthy enough to do it. I'm going to keep doing it. So I love doing 2.5 hour to 3 hour sessions every day. That's just how I do it.
Well, I hear the same, man. That's exactly it. I remember you talking about, what is it? Do you want to get healthy? Have you ever seen a fighter who's not in shape? Like, for me, myself, I'm not interested in going to the ring per se, but I love the art. I love punching people and getting punched. It's kind of a sick thing, but you're right. It's about the health. It's all that same training. Now, when you're talking about all this training, you mentioned a lot of jiu-jitsu, which is great. We need it for the MMA, the realistic stuff. How do you feel about the word forms?
So
and I'm asking this question because I've gotten some people who are like beginners as well. And this is a topic that's been beat to death.
Yeah.
But for you, what are forms?
To get into that, like, I don't want people to think that what I do on Sunday is what I do every day. So, like, to kind of clarify real quick, that's Sunday. Monday is wushu, and Monday is going to have wushu basics and wushu forms. And then Tuesday is going to have the Palama sets that my students are working on, which is forms. And then we always do forms as a warm-up, and then we do our self-defense that's in the Kajukenbo system, and then we do specific technical training for fighting, specifically for either MMA or no-gi jiu-jitsu or street defense, right? But it's going to be a pressure-tested way of doing it. It's not just going to be going through it. It's going to be, we're going to do it, and then we're going to drill it, and then we're going to spar it, and then we're going to focus with that in sparring. So it's very into that. And I use forms as a warm-up. So like I do that on every time I do that as a warm up, and then Wednesdays is all the forms I know for my personal training. If a student comes, great, they do all the forms they know. I do all the forms I know, which is one, you know how it is, like 5 or 6 or twin or whatever the fuck it is. So I do that on Wednesday. Thursday I do all my self defense as a form, all the grab arts, punch arts, club arts, knife arts as a form. I do that before as my warm up, and then I go into my training of 12 rounds for. Jab straight, shadow boxing, whatever. Fridays, I do weapons forms, and then I do my jiu-jitsu warm-up, which is like the shrimping and all that shit. And that's how I work it. So to kind of work that into your question, I view forms as a way to warm up the body. Now, you can use forms to exercise. That's actually something that you can do depending on how many times you do. Because if you do a form fast over and over again, it turns into kind of a shadow boxing thing. You're not using a timer. You don't take a break. If you decide to go through all your forms 2 or 3 or 4 times at full speed with key eyes, that's a workout in itself.
And I would say, it's interesting the way you do that, because I do it the other way around. We start off with the kickboxing first. I was thinking, like, when I have a new student come in, I don't do forms. The first thing I want to make sure they can do is palm strike someone in the face, and then we move into kickboxing. And actually, quite only recently, I've been really focusing on forms. Now that I've got some people who've been training me for some of them for a few years, some of them, for maybe a year or so. That's only now we're starting to get into forms. The idea being, kickboxing first and jiu-jitsu first. Then we're going to look at the forms, and then we're going to break some things out of that to put it into the fight, actually. So how do you feel about that word? Do you feel it's a positive word when people mention forms? And this is what I want to get to for people who are just getting into martial arts. Do you think it's a positive word?
I'm very cautious about using the word when I bring in forms. And the reason I bring it in as a warm-up and not the primary training. I tell them, hey, we're going to warm up with this. And then they start to do it. And the reason I say that is because I'll have people come in from a boxing background, for example. I have a professional boxer who comes into my gym.
Right.
And I make him do forms. Like, he came in on a Monday to do wushu. I was like, all right, we're going to do forms today. You're going to do wushu forms, of all things, which is really out there for him. So, and then we start off with that.
That's true.
And I told him, hey, we're going to start off with this. This is a warm-up. We have it's almost like, because I know people hate forms. I know they do.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, you can search forms on the internet right now, and you'll find about 200 trolling videos about why forms suck and why you shouldn't use them anymore. And that's how it works. I know that's what's going on, but I still bring it in because I love to see someone, especially the professional boxer, I love to see someone who knows how to fight try to do a form and get frustrated because they can't.
Is that the sick part of you looking, or is that just something to see them learn?
I love seeing that learning process where they look at it and they go, oh, that's stupid. Oh, that's lame. Okay, cool. We'll try it. It's just a warm up.
Do it. Yeah.
It's just a warm up. It's stupid and lame. It's easy, right? Let's just try it. And they can't. And then they come back to me. They're like, show me that one more time.
Yeah.
And like,
exactly. And I want to make sure, because this is a Kajukenbo podcast, that there are lots of Kajukenbo people as well who do not like forms. I think the highest profile one is John Hackelman, being in charge of, Chuck Liddell. It's got Glover. It's got some other fighters who are doing really well right now. And he really does not like the forms. And even my teacher, Ron Esteller, he teaches all the forms. At his school, I learned from him. We got our 400-year-old Kung Fu forms, got the pinyons. We do all of them, but even he's like, I'm doing this for our legacy because we got to pass it down. But I know that he would rather focus on knife work, close combat, close quarter combat, self-defense, that kind of stuff. So on that note, are you ready for the next shot?
Yeah.
Okay. And those of you following from home, you're welcome for shot number 2.
It's not number 6. Last time I said number 4, and it was actually number 6.
I mean, maybe I couldn't correct you because I hadn't eaten anything, like I said, but I just didn't want to correct you. There's no reason. Might as well go for it.
Cheers.
All right, brother.
Salud.
Do. So, again, I'm expecting some people to listen to this who are still somewhat new in the martial arts, maybe only a few years. And I think it's important to mention that there are people who absolutely hate forms who have produced champion fighters. And there are people who still do the forms for various reasons. One thing about that, in the MMA, jiu-jitsu is a very strong part. I'm more of a striker. I mean, I have some JJ, but it's very weak. But I know that it's very necessary. I know how important it is. Do you feel any of the forms has an effect on your groundwork?
Yeah, I've actually been experimenting with this lately, and this is why I do the forms. So going back to our professional boxer story, and again, I'm gonna flat out tell you, when I first started Kajukenbo, I almost walked out the door when they said we had to do forms, because I fucking hated forms.
You had that bush before, right?
Yeah.
I never talking about that kung fu school that you went to.
Yeah. So like, I already came out of something like that, and I still loved kung fu. I just wanted the techniques from kung fu without the forms. That's exactly what I wanted. And then when I was told, okay, I want to learn wushu. You say you teach a style of kung fu called wushu. Okay, show me. And he showed me, my Sifu showed it to me in a line basics way, and we didn't have to do the forms. And I liked that. I'm like, all right, cool. But later when he said, he's like, okay, you got to learn these forms. You got to learn this. And at the time we were sharing the school, the Taekwondo school. So you got to learn this Taekwondo form. And I was like, oh, fuck. So before I go into it, I want to let you know this is what I started with. This is where my mentality was. But now, what I've been really enjoying experimenting with, is grabbing things from my forms, putting it in a MMA fight situation. So like I was sparring with the professional boxer, and we just got done working wushu, and we just got done. I was working on we were working on that spinning outside crescent, the jumping spinning outside crescent, and I ended up doing that to him and knocking him out by mistake. Like a TKO by mistake. It wasn't on purpose. I was just trying to see, okay, I wonder how it works. I'm not going to do the jumping outside. I'm not going to do the jumping outside crescent, but I'm going to move my body this way, and then I'm going to do the outside crescent in the same way that it would be done as if I was jumping. And I'm not going to do jumping because I'm afraid. I did it this way because I was afraid I'd knock him out. I'm like, if I jump, there's no way I can control the contact. And I wanted to keep it light.
Right.
So it really tripped him out. He didn't know what was going to hit him. And then after that, when I talk about the forms, we talk about the ground fighting. The ground fighting for forms is not meant to be ground fighting like in jiu-jitsu. It's meant for the opponent to be standing over and dominating their it's meant for you to be standing over your opponent and dominating them. That's really what forms base themselves on. And that's the weakness of the forms, is that they don't really put you as the person getting beat up. They always put you as the aggressor. But if you are good enough, it's really effective to pretty much put your hand on top of the person's head and start doing those weird things where you have to like close your knees. Right? In the form, sometimes you close your knees and you punch down for no reason. Like, what's this all about? Why are my knees crossed? Why are my knees crossed and I'm punching down? Or why are my legs... Why am I sitting in that whole wushu thing where you cross your legs and you do this whole thing like that, right? And there's nobody there, so they're wondering what's that all about. But if you do that thing where you cross your legs and you sit on your opponent, they don't know what the fuck to do. Like, I was doing that in jiu-jitsu class the other day, just fucking around with it. I'm like, I'm going to cross my legs... I'm going to cross my legs like the whole Kung Fu style and just sit bottom my butt on my opponent's chest and see what he does. And he didn't know what the fuck to do because it wasn't jiu-jitsu. And I wasn't striking him. And I do that to my students all the time. In MMA, I'll do that. I'll sit on them and then I'll start back fisting them in the face. And they're just like, he taught me all this jiu-jitsu, but he never told me what to do if a guy sits on my chest and starts back fisting me in the face. And that came from the forums.
Fair enough. That's exactly what it is. And how do you describe what a form is to someone who doesn't know? Because the image that people have is basically just Kung Fu. And then when you start going into karate, it's actually something very different. And I've got my own definition as well. But if you were to put it in a few sentences to a beginner, don't know what martial arts is, what the hell are forms? What's the difference between that and sparring?
Forms are coordination training. Coordination and balance training.
Okay. So do you count the grab arts, punch attacks? Do you count those as forms?
Depending on how I teach it.
Good answer. That's the big thing. I felt there's a big combination. There's a big connection between the forms we have and like boxing combinations. You know, if you want to go jab, jab, hook, uppercut, knee, elbow, it's kind of like a mini form, right? It's just like the stick work as well. What about the Kung Fu forms compared to the pinyans, compared to the kata? Do you have any feeling on those? Because those are very different styles. And we have a reason that we do all three of them. But what's your take on that?
I feel that, and what my instructor said, and I stick to that, the pinyan sets have self-defense techniques built into them. That's why they're very rigid. They're very aggressive. If I were to look at this in elemental way, it's very fire. It's a fire style. It's a hard style. You're coming in, you're striking, you're hitting hard, and it's like a 1-2-3, whatever it is. It's a 1-2-3. It's going to be a hammer fist to the top of the head, kick to the groin, and a punch to the solar plexus. Right, that kind of stuff happens in the pinyan sets, and then a takedown.
into a ground and pound. Like that's in there. Like if you're wondering what they're doing, like why are you sitting there doing this? Well, why are you sitting in a horse stance going like this? Well, because of course in a fight I'm not going to go like this, but I'm going to be grabbing you and putting you down with both arms. And then once you're there and I'm in a horse stance and I'm standing over you, I'm going to start just ground and pounding. So like that's the pinyon. The wushu teaches you fluidity, like how to be, because again, it's not rigid. The kung fu stuff is not rigid. It's very soft, and the movements are more circular.
Right.
The movements are more circular, while the pinyon sets are more straight, working in a straight line. And then from there, you can kind of put this stuff together in sparring to figure out when do I attack in a straight line and when should I use a circular movement to throw off my opponent.
And I love that you mentioned circular as well, because you and I, coming from Kajukenbo, we got the northern style kung fu in our roots. Southern style is not as circular, right? I mean, we got like the Wing Chun. They got like a circular motion of the punches, but it's still much more of a straight line attack. Yeah, so I love that you bring that up, because that's another thing people don't realize, the difference in the north and south. And I think people know Bruce Lee. They don't know. Some people don't know his roots coming from the southern style rather than the northern style. Today we were doing a southern style form. Are you familiar with the Hungar style?
Yes. Yeah.
So, at a Hungar, do you have the form Laugar? Do you have anything at your guys' school?
I can't say. For me personally, in my style, I don't have Logar. I don't have Logar. The only Hungar stuff we have is Long Fist and Fuhawk. Actually, no. Long Fist is more northern. No, I take it back. Long Fist, no. Fuhawk is the Hungar that we have.
Okay, we were talking Fuhawk last time recently, actually. How we both got a little bit of that as well. We got to compare. We have to do another comparison video on our forms.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Are you ready for another shot?
Yes.
Shot number 3. Anyone's interested to join? Number 3. So the next thing, I'm a fan of forms, but like I said, I don't even start teaching forms until people have gotten some fighting basics. My take on them is that you got to learn how to fight first, and then the forms do all this stuff to teach you balance. They teach you timing. They perfect your motion, the economy of motion. They make everything more effective. Kata and Kung Fu both have things to teach. One of my favorite sayings, we covered this today in our class, actually. My teacher's teacher, Grandmaster James Juarez, I always call him Sigon. He always says this, how karate is one hit, one kill. We all know that saying, right? Iken Hisatsu. The idea is that you're going to throw a punch, you need to throw with everything you got, and that should be the end of it. All that power in one strike. The Kung Fu equivalent is punching the guy 3 or 4 times to finish him off before you go to the next guy. Kajukenbo is 3 hits, 3 kills. If you're going to punch 3 times, you go full speed like that. And I think that's what's important for us, is that we try to get the technique, the footwork of the kata with the flow, the fluidity you mentioned, the Kung Fu forms, and that's what our pinyons are supposed to look like. Now, there's a problem, I think, that has come up. How do you feel about tournament forms? Yeah, that's what I thought. You didn't even take a shot that time. Tell me more. What do you think?
So, nothing, I guess, I'm lucky. Before we even start this conversation, I'm lucky that the tournament forms that we had were based on Palama sets with just a few added flashy movements. Say hello, hi. Hello. Hi. So, the fancy stuff that's put, I guess it depends. Like I said, I got lucky that for our competition form, we didn't add anything too fancy, and we took stuff from the Palama sets, and the fanciest thing we threw in was still practical. We threw in a somersault, a jumping roll, and we threw in a jumping, spinning outside crescent, which is still practical. It's still not within the outside realms of it. But I have to comment. Oh, go ahead.
Down to the idea that it's just we're gonna throw somersaults in to get more points. I mean, it has its but that goes along with the feeling of how a lot of traditionalists and people who just want to fight, how they feel about these forms. We have to win this tournament, so we're gonna throw some flips and jumps in there. Roll around like a monkey.
But again, the somersault, the idea of the somersault is still really great because you need to learn how to do a front roll break fall for jiu-jitsu. So it's still practical. There's no backflips. There's no, that's why I said I'm lucky that our competition forms didn't have that stuff.
In both forms, there's no backflips.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, I'm lucky that and I'm speaking for my competition form, was still based within reality. Now, to answer your question about competition forms. You heard of this, have you heard of what is that? The
XMA.
Yeah, so in XMA, this is where, okay, because I'm still objective, all right? I don't hate, the only thing I hate on is people hating on shit, if this makes any sense.
It does. I mean, I hate XMA, so you probably hate that. Sorry, but anyway, please continue.
But, like, again, like, when you start doing a bunch of flips, at one point, XMA, or the idea, for those of you who are listening who have no idea what XMA is, like, what the fuck is he talking about? We're talking about this certain set of competition forms where they're not even traditional forms at that point. They're freestyle forms where each individual can come up with their own set, and many times the winners are just essentially gymnasts doing gymnastics and throwing a few punches and kicks in between the gymnastics, between these flips and tumbles. And not to say that there's anything wrong with that. If you're doing that in your training, there's an athletic part. There's definitely an athletic element to being able to do backflips, tumbles, cartwheels, round-offs, and flip kicks. There's an athletic side
part. Yeah.
To that.
Yeah.
So I'm still not I'm not going to flat out say I hate it. I don't hate it. I'm just saying that's what it is. But if you're asking me, is that necessary to be a good fighter? Or if you're asking me a more specific question, does someone who can do a bunch of backflips and flip kicks and front flip kicks and roundhouses and cartwheels, is that person going to be a good fighter? I don't know. Because if that's all they're doing and they're not doing any jiu-jitsu, they're fucked.
Now, I'm going to say in response, I'm one of those people. I hate XMA. And I'm with you. I appreciate the jumps. The fact they can do that is amazing. And they should join a gymnastics school and join those competitions. I mean, I don't know. I imagine that's like becoming an amazing heavy metal guitar player and taking part in a classical music. No, that doesn't make sense. Going into let's change that. Let's say you're an amazing pop star and you have pop music on acoustic guitar and you go to a classical music competition and you're just playing chords. Pop music has its strengths. There's basic music that's great. Punk music is great. But if you're just playing a 4/4 beat, and you're trying to do a competition of people playing Stravinsky, it doesn't belong there. You're in the wrong place. And this is the same thing. I mean, the gymnastics is amazing, but doing a backflip does not mean you can do a kick. The problem with this is the judges give higher score to the gymnasts over people who are actually doing martial arts. And that's where I have a problem with this. And I'm sure there are people in my Kajukenbo history who saw me come from a Taekwondo school into Kajukenbo, and my Sifu threw me into a tournament. I hate tournaments. I hate performing. I hate doing forms at a tournament. But he threw me in and said, do this Taekwondo form, the black belt form you learned. So, I mean, I got to go out, and the way I was taught, you got to do the whole entertainment show, yell at the judges, "Judges, my name is, and I fucking hate that. And I did it because I didn't know what else to do. And I think it's terrible. I think the forms represent so much more of what makes Kajukenbo different from Kyokushin Karate, from any Kempo, from any Kung Fu, the Judo, Jiu-Jitsu as well. It really separates us from other people. And I really hate not only that they're doing this, because that's great they're doing it, but I hate that they're being judged as great martial artists at a martial arts tournament after throwing 3 punches and spending a minute throwing flips instead. If you know what I'm saying. I'm not okay with that.
But I think a bigger question is, what do you think of forms as a competition in the first place?
That's an excellent question. I think forms are okay at a competition, but again, it comes to judgment. Because, okay, let's say, for example, a forward stance. We're talking boxers. Boxers stand flat-footed. We in Kajukenbo, if you do any Muay Thai style, we're not going to be flat-footed. We're going to have our back heel up. You got your footwork, the forward attack moves, retreat. Once you get into kata, you have deep forward stances. You have horse stances, which are not realistic in a fight. But they are traditionally taught, and they can show your power. They can show your balance. You guys, we have this form, or we have this stance called the bow and arrow stance. I don't know if you have the stance. Is that the same for you guys?
Yeah, the bow stance. Yeah.
Okay. So, going from a horse stance to a bow stance smoothly and quickly, you cannot do that without lots of practice. But the whole time you're practicing, you're actually doing martial arts. The whole time you're practicing doing a backflip, you're not doing martial arts, you're practicing jumping. Which, jumping is necessary in fighting, but you're not practicing the fight. So myself, I'm okay in the tournaments as long as the judges know that we should be looking at, are they doing the traditional forms in a way that makes them better fighters? In that case, I'm all for it. Now, keep in mind, I fucking hate tournaments in the first place. I don't want to do any forms at a tournament. But at a tournament, I'm okay with forms. I have a feeling you have a different thought. What's your thought? Perk on your face. What is it?
I've seen too many people that present themselves as multiple international, national champions that only competed in forms for me to have a disdain for the idea that forms is just so subjective, especially at a high level.
Yeah.
Especially at a high level, because now, what are we really talking about here? If we're all black belts and we all invested that time to get our black belt and we all did our forms for that long, once you sit there and you start doing your form and we're now competing at black belt level for our forms, really, I mean, yeah, I guess we're looking at, like I said, deep horse stances, a nice bow stance, and whatever that is. But at that point, I feel it's very subjective. Kind of like surfing competitions are very subjective. When you go to high-level surfing competitions, you'll start noticing you'll keep seeing the same names always in the top. And I've seen the same thing happen in forms at tournaments. We will always see the same names at the top. And there's a lot of elbow greasing and handshaking going on for me to say that if you're a form person, no offense to you, I'm not saying that you're not a champion at what you do. I'm just saying that if becoming a form champion is your goal, that's very different from becoming a fighter.
Now, I will say, first off, I agree. Second off, I remember talking to my Sifu how when they went to a tournament, that was never done. Basically, you went to a tournament, you did everything. If you were doing forms, you also got your ass out there to fight. And you seen there's a great video clip of these old school karate guys. You got like Benny Urquidez in the video, and you got I think Superfoot Wallace might even be in there. I think Chuck Norris shows up. Have you seen these videos of these old, real karate tournaments?
I've seen some of them, but I'm not all the way through. Go ahead, please.
Oh, but that's exactly it, man. I mean, these are the guys. If you're gonna go out there, this is different from today. We have people doing MMA which you see these guys fighting in the 70s or 80s, whenever the video was, it looked like MMA fighters. Not in the way they were fighting, but in how hard they were trying to knock the other fucker out. And those were the same guys who went on, these at a tournament like that. If you're going to fight like that and then compete in forms, then I do believe there's a place for that. And that is also another thing that separates a good martial artist from an MMA fighter. And nowadays I hate to use the word MMA, because MMA means people who train kickboxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mixed, and mixed martial arts. Kajukenbo is a mixed martial art. As much as I respect Bruce Lee, Kajukenbo came out 20 years earlier, and it was the same idea of mixing martial arts. And that's why we still have the forms. I've said this before in some other videos, you want to be a fighter, you're going into the ring, you probably shouldn't study forms, because that's just one aspect. You need to go in, you need to practice your boxing combinations, your kicking combinations, your groundwork. But when you're ready to step out of the ring and be a real person and be someone special as a martial artist, that's when the forms actually have a huge impact on your life. I was impressed at how easy, when I broke my toe, when I shattered my toe, and I ended up having to get a surgery because it wasn't just a regular break, I was surprised at how often my cat stance came into help. Walking around my own apartment, trying to get around tables in a small Japanese apartment, and all my form work made things so much easier. And at a tournament, yeah, I think forms belong there if you're also fighting. I would love to see people like George St. Pierre, Machida, those guys. I remember seeing Machida at an MMA pre-fight doing I forget the name of the form, Bosadai, some karate form. And yeah, it was I respect that. If you can do fighting in the ring and do a form, which is basically a dance, it is a dance, but if you can do both, that impresses me way more than being able to go in and beat everyone up. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's that balance aspect, right?
Yeah.
It's the idea that we're not just shooting to be forms specialists, right? Mm-hmm. We're looking at being a complete martial artist. And in fact, I wouldn't doubt George St. Pierre. I wouldn't doubt he's the kind of guy that would learn forms or does know forms. I wouldn't doubt.
He does Kyokushin, right?
I think so. So he does know forms. If he's doing Kyokushin, he does know forms. I don't want to say it. I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know and err to the side of caution. But I think he does.
I'm going to say, just as at the regular straight, I think he doesn't, because I think Kyokushin doesn't do forms.
Oh, Kyokushin does do forms.
Oh, do they forms? Okay.
Yeah.
Most Kyokushin guys I've seen focus on punching each other really hard, and that's why a lot of kaiju guys love Kyokushin guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I trained with Kyokushin guys out here in Japan. I don't know how they're doing in America, but in Japan, the Kyokushin guys, yeah, they beat the shit out of each other, and there's a lot of fucking each other up, but no punching to the face. Right. But they do forms also. They're tested on forms. They have their own set forms. There's two set styles. One that looks like self-defense and one that's more like form-like. But yeah.
Oh, all right, fair enough. I see. I didn't know that. Now, that's one side of the tournament. How do you feel about choreographed fights in movies? And I'm talking all the way back from Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee to nowadays when you see martial arts. I'm not gonna say nowadays is the Matrix. You and I are getting fucking old, buddy. But
John Wick,
even better. Yeah, John Wick, choreographed fights like that. How do you feel about those as a martial artist? And what do you think?
It's entertainment.
Yeah,
it's entertainment. I like to be entertained. What can I say? I want my entertainment. So for me personally, I'm not one to sit there. Again, I think we had a conversation about this on one of those. When I watch a movie, I just go on cruise control and I go for the ride. I won't sit there and be like, that wouldn't work. That's not real. Because as soon as I start down that rabbit hole, there's no way out. I might as well just turn off the TV and just watch another fight on YouTube if I'm looking for real fighting. Right? So I kind of already decided to go into it saying, hey, I'm about to watch a movie about a guy who slays a dragon. So,
All right.
if the person can do magic or whatever it is that they can do, I'm just gonna let it go.
Okay, now I can see that, and I agree with that as well. I love the entertainment. How do you feel though when you see like shitty martial arts choreography, like back to the '70s, like Charlie's Angels kind of stuff?
I find it funny. Like when I will watch cheesy. I used to watch like the cheesiest kung fu movies with like really bad dubbing and just ridiculous moves. And it was to me like watching a comedy. Like this is funny. Like I'm still entertained. Like I'm still maybe for the wrong reasons. Maybe they were being serious for the choreography, but I had a good time. Or like when it's really over the top, like Kill Bill, completely fucking over the top.
Great movie.
Right?
That was a great.
Way over the top though. Like
if
I start putting my reality hat on and I go in that mode, a lot of unrealistic shit. But I think it's hilarious. Like the more over the top, the more hands come, whoosh, like spraying of the blood. I'm like, yeah, like I love it, and that's why like when it comes to choreographed martial arts, I hope they do go over the top. You're gonna get my attention. The more over the top you go, the more you have my attention because I think it's funny at one point, and then go ahead.
Okay. Do you prefer then like over the top or realistic fights like John Wick style? John Wick's got. I mean, I love watching the John Wick choreography because he's actually training. He's doing this stuff. Keanu Reeves doing BJJ and he's done like actual gun training. And I love to see that. Which do you prefer then in that case as a martial artist?
I like both.
Equally?
Yeah, I like both equally. I love over the top and I love like very realistic stuff like John Wick and what was that other show? That other I don't know if that's even popular anymore. Taken.
Oh yeah. Taken was great. It
was like really not very fancy at all, and some people like criticized it for it. But I was like, yeah, it's pretty real. Like it's like one or two moves, boom, boom, pow, and they're down. So like,
do you know a movie called Flashpoint? Donnie Yen.
Yeah. That's the one. Wait, is Flashpoint the one where he was doing MMA mixed with Kung Fu?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen a clip, and that I love, where it's basically MMA.
Okay, yeah. It is Flashpoint, then. Yeah.
He's like a Kung Fu... I think he started as a Kung Fu guy. He's doing, the Ip Man movies and all that. But he's really... what I respect is that he seems to be appreciative of all the arts. He's done MMA training, he's done judo training, jiu-jitsu training. And there's a clip that anybody can find on Flashpoint, which is a movie I still need to see, where they go through all these jiu-jitsu, judo techniques. And this was introduced to me by a judo guy, so he was giving me the judo names. Like, oh yeah, he's doing this here, now he's doing this, now he's doing this. Now they're falling from the building, and now they're doing this judo technique and this judo technique. And I love it. Now, like, going back to the history of MMA, when the jiu-jitsu guys were really starting to win, we had these like 30-minute rounds, and nobody wanted to see the jiu-jitsu because they didn't know what was happening. I know Joe Rogan kind of opened the doors and started explaining, this is what he's doing. This is why it's cool. At the first point, nobody really liked that. Do you think we're going to be able to see more of that in movies? Like I said, Flashpoint did it extremely well. John Wick has some CQC military style, but Flashpoint is more like an MMA fight with all judo stuff. Do you think we're going to see more of that in the future with movies?
And yeah, just a quick side point. In Flashpoint, he straight out went to an MMA gym. And like one thing I want to say about Donnie Yen is whenever he has a role, he will literally go and study that style of martial art for that role. So like when he was going to do the Ip Man role, he went to the best Wing Chun school, learned Wing Chun. When he decided to do Flashpoint, they told him, we want to incorporate MMA, specifically MMA. We want to do MMA. And so he's lit up. There's literally videos you can find online of Donnie Yen preparing for that role in MMA gloves, doing no-gi, doing ground and pounds, doing the work. That's one thing I admire about the dude. So,
I respect.
So like, as far as the future of martial arts in movies, I do want to say, and it's already happening. If you've watched even really fucking cheesy movies like, what was that? Fast and the Furious. It's already happening in a lot of the modern movies where a lot of people are they know about MMA And if you look at the fight scenes, there's more jiu-jitsu, there's more judo coming in. There's a little less kung fu in the American movies, especially the American movies. You start watching your American movies and start watching the fight scenes, and there's definitely a lot more Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu coming into the films. Mm-hmm. The Expendables film, and it's because they're hiring MMA fighters to play roles. So they're bringing in
Expendables. Couture was in the first one. I know Ronda Rousey's now in Fast and Furious, isn't she? I mean, they got a lot of those people.
I thought Ronda Rousey actually did Expendables 2 also.
Maybe. She probably did. I can't remember now.
I think she did. And they had another MMA fighter. So MMA fighters are slowly becoming kind of like our old school boxers and our old school kickboxers that started kind of making their way from the fight scene into Hollywood. That's starting to happen now. And I think as that does happen, you're going to see more of that because people, and fortunately or unfortunately, are leaning away from the kung fu, because that used to be the big thing. Like you'd watch a movie, and if you watch any movie, there was a fight scene, there was always some sort of Bruce Lee type or kung fu type of fight scene. Like, oh yeah, it's kung fu. That's so cool.
So, well, first off, we've taken 3 shots. The show is 4 shots. You ready for 5 tonight?
Yeah, sure. We did 3.
We've had 3 so far.
Okay, round 4. Okay.
Next one is 4.
Okay, just making sure.
I have shot glasses, so I can count.
Good. I don't. That's what happened to me last time.
To anyone following at home, hope you enjoy.
Number 4.
So, I think there's a big thing about entertainment. The first thing you said about these choreographed fights is the entertainment value. As a martial artist, I think there's more to it as well. The kung fu, for example, especially Bruce Lee, but kung fu in general, those movies kind of exposed people to a part of this culture. This is before the internet, so it really exposed people to a new art. Not only just to beat people up, but literally an art. You know, and a lot of people studied how to beat people up so that they can live a safer, better life. They don't do it to beat people up. How do you feel about the choreographed fights beyond entertainment? Do you feel that there is a benefit to the world in these martial arts being exposed in choreographed fights? I mean, a lot of people are going to say, oh, John Wick, that's violent. I don't want to see that.
I mean, as a martial artist, I feel that, and it's the whole reason, like if you read Bruce Lee's writings, he talked about why he wanted to transition into Hollywood. And the main thing was, he said that right now we have all these martial arts stuff and only us martial artists know about it. Even in MMA, yeah, I learned this. I get caught up, I'm guilty of this myself, where I get really excited being in my little world. And I was like talking to someone about how I interviewed Stephen Kesting. Shameless plug, check it out, it's a great interview. And they were like, who's Stephen Kesting? And I'm like, oh fuck. Like again, I did it again. Like I'm so involved in my world of martial arts that I forgot that Stephen Kesting isn't like a household name, because to me he is. He's a Kajukenbo guy who got a bunch of jiu-jitsu, and if you talk to any martial artist, they know who he is. But yeah, I feel that Hollywood is a great venue, even better than the UFC. The UFC is still trying. The UFC is still trying to break through to the world. But Hollywood has broken through to the world. So I can grab anyone right now, even in Japan, and be like, Bruce Lee? They're like, yeah, Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah. Every time I try to explain, as somebody living in a foreign country, what's your favorite movie? The Crow. Who's in it? Brandon Lee. Who? Bruce Lee? Oh, yeah, his son. Yeah, everyone knows Bruce Lee. You're exactly right. There's certain names like Bruce Lee, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel that to answer your question about choreographed fights in martial arts, in movies, that's their place, right? That's why it's so great to see different styles expressed. That's why it's awesome that's why I said it's kind of great, and it's a shame that they're leaning away from the kung fu and they're bringing in more just jujitsu and kickboxing. But I want to say it's a generational thing. Like what? Back in the day, it was just karate. That's it. There was this whole karate boom in the U.S. and everybody knew about karate, and karate was what they were talking about. And the first movie was Billy Jack. If you've ever, I don't know if
the cowboy dude, right?
Yeah, the cowboy dude. That was like the
I remember. Yeah.
That like if you talk to an old schooler from the 70s, they'll tell you, yeah, Billy Jack, that's the guy right there. That's the style of karate, right? And like then the 80s came around and brought in a little more karate, brought in ninjutsu for as much of a quackery as it is. They brought in something that was I don't want to go there right now, but if you listen to my last I just uploaded an episode with Rob Rowland, a Kajukenbo practitioner from Austin, Texas, and we go into a long rabbit hole about ninjutsu. And check it out.
Summarize it.
Summarize it.
Ninjutsu. 2 sentences or less.
Stephen Hayes is a fraud. There we go. I think that can be done. I didn't know it could be done, but there it is. Stephen Hayes is a fraud.
Yeah, we gotta find out more, because here we are in Japan, and like, Japan is not the place to really believe a lot of the advertisements. I mean, did you know that there's a shrine or something that makes its money by advertising that after Jesus Christ died and came back, he came to Japan and started a thing over here, and this was the look on your face is exactly how I felt when I heard this. And I mean, so yeah, Japan is great. I love Japan, and the history is amazing, the real history. But when you look around and you work with the advertisement industry here, you learn to see that some people here as well will kind of push things that might not have been true. And when it comes to ninjutsu, I kind of feel that's what they were doing, man. I mean, I know ninjas existed. Anybody listening to this might not realize that ninjas did not run around wearing all black. That came from kabuki, from what I understand. Like, the performers were doing their thing, and the stage was black, the background was black. So the people running around, putting clouds in the sky or whatever, carrying sticks, they wore black so they couldn't be seen. That was the image that was given to ninjas eventually.
Or is that what they want you to think?
Look, man. The Illuminati hole's opening up, brother. But I mean, like, yeah, that's ninjutsu is its own. How do you perform to ninjutsu? Jesus Christ! But ninjutsu as well. It's going back to movies, American Ninja. When I was a kid, that was a great movie.
Ninja Turtles.
Ninja
Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. Exactly.
It inspired me. It inspired me.
And this is another thing about it. I mean, ninjutsu, for example, these choreographed fights, yeah, sometimes they're crap, but they inspire you. As a kid, you see these things. Michael Dudikoff, when I was, like 8 years old, hey, this guy's cool. He's not Asian, but he can do ninjutsu. This is kind of cool. I can learn martial arts too. It's now I kind of look back and cringe, but I think that is a good point. That is the thing that choreographed fights, and maybe even the XMA guys. A little kid sees his XMA guys doing flips and looking cool. That might be the door that opens them up to what the real martial arts is. For me, I've told you my story. I kind of grew up in a Mick dojo, and I was very unhappy with it. But it still got me started. It still got me connected, and I was able to make connections later for it. So, one more question for the night before we take our fourth shot. Best Jackie Chan movie.
Oh.
And I'm going to say right now, I'm not supporting Jackie Chan for political reasons, and I've lost respect for him. We can talk about that afterwards in the post-show when we drink some more. But, favorite Jackie Chan movie?
Rumble in the Bronx, because he broke his foot and kept going.
Was that the only time that happened?
No, several times, but definitely I was really impressed with how not only how he broke his foot and kept going, but how he did the rest of the movie with a fake cast that looked like a tennis shoe.
Okay, yeah. I do remember seeing that. That's fair enough. All right,
yeah. Because not so much for the choreographed, because there's a lot of great stuff that he did choreograph in other movies, but
yeah. Okay, I can see that. That was, if in my part of town anyway, that was the first Jackie Chan movie that was re-released in the theaters. So everyone thought it was a new movie, and then the movie starts and it's all dubbed, and we're like, what the fuck's going on? And we were always all advertised as, real stuff. But for me, I gotta say Drunken Master. Again, I guess this comes back to the forms as well. Like, for a long time, man, even now, I still feel, even though the idea of drunken kung fu is that you look like an alcoholic, it actually, the flow that I find to be very beautiful. I'm pretty sure, similar to the ninja thing, the idea that they drank alcohol to fight was bullshit. It was meant to mimic something else. But I think the flow they had. Have you ever tried any drunken style? Any of the flow?
Yeah. It's. I love Drunken Master for the choreography. The choreography and the fight scenes were how the way they were able to show you how drunken style would look like in a real fight. And
right.
The way they simulated that was really good. Again, the reason it's not on my number one was mostly because of the background stuff that was happening to Jackie Chan in Rumble in the Bronx.
I mean, that's the
broken foot thing, because it happened like in the first, like if you watch the movie, it's the scene where he jumps from one building to the other, which happens really early in the film, and they actually, when they shot that scene, it was like one of the first few scenes they shot. So that means every single other scene that they shot after that, he had a fucking broken foot.
That's impressive.
that's why I go. The water skiing scene, he's wearing a cast. And he's water skiing. And he's never fucking water skied. That's why I'm like, dude, my God, you are crazy. That's why it's that. Like, choreograph, like, martial arts style, totally get it. I think Drunken Master, the choreography and the style and the stuff that went into there was fantastic. But just the sheer guts that he had to go through to finish the movie with a broken foot is what makes me think, fuck, like you.
And that was that the original name? Wasn't that like Police Story? What part of the Police Stories?
Yeah, it's like Police Story 2 or 3, and all the police stories. And that's why you asked me, like, which one did he break his foot? Because if you watch any of the police stories, he got fucked up in every single one. They're like, I love the one where they drop him off and he's never snowboarded, but they drop him off on the top of a mountain and fucking snowboard.
And this is martial arts good for you in case you're randomly ever dropped out of a helicopter and forced to snowboard.
By a Chinese
this is why
producer.
Forms are good for you. Balance, technique.
Don't do movies in China. That's my advice.
All right, so we're about finished for tonight. We're going to take our last shot, and this will be the end of the night. Don't do movies in China. Well, thanks, man. Now no one's going to see this video in China.
They weren't anyways. They're firewall. Cheers.
Cheers. All right, so thank you everyone for watching. This has been four shots of Kajukenbo. My name is John Hojlo. My co-host today has been Angelo Ferrer. Look us up. We're in Japan. It shouldn't be hard to find us. We're the only two Kajukenbo people teaching in Japan. We hope to see you again. We've had a good time. We hope you had a good time. And we will see you next time. Kajukenbo strong. See you guys next time.
And that's a wrap. Thank you very much for checking out Social Gelo with Angelo. Please subscribe. As you can see, John is still here. Hello. Like I said, it's part of our Black Belt meeting Kajukenbo series. It's still part of the Kajukenbo series. I will continue to push out one new Kajukenbo practitioner interview every month. And every so once in a while, you get one of these. 4 Shots of Kajukenbo. If you want to check it out, it's going to be at Kajukenbo Okayama on Facebook if you want to see it there. And while you're there, you might as well like Sifu John's page at Kajukenbo Okayama. Just hit a like. And he posts all his training videos. They're great videos. Check them out. Catch you all later.